So here's a video of a ranked game called the Dead Sea, which was notable for a few things, but one of them was that I didn't get very much vision, so unlike my normal videos, I'm doing this with all the vision turned on after the end of the game, so you can see some other stuff. So my main issue was that this was a low factory game, lots of generators, only one starting factory, and I could only see 3 expansion factories at all, and of those I could take 2. I could take Artie and Fam, and the real question was I going to be able to take Phillips off Skylight down here? So that was really the only thing that I had to go on from the start. It turned out that this was a very bad part of the sea for myself and my immediate neighbours, as you'll see at the end of the game. So I sort of said to Skylight, do you want to ally against somebody else, after being friendly with most of my neighbours to the north, because we didn't have anything of value in between us. So I was sort of thinking of attacking at Moranga, which even then I couldn't really see that it was a... I could see that it was a factory once I got as far as Vaccarino. So that was apparently a lightly defended factory, but even then I wasn't sure that I could get there. Meanwhile, Skylight has put all of his troops at Phillips, so I would need to basically charge it down with the troops that I've sent across from Feld to Hook and the troops that I've sent from Hook to Fam. And I've done the stupid thing of hiring an infiltrator, because I figured that, you know, there were going to be lots of generators with shields, not very many troops. Maybe an infiltrator will actually come in handy. Oh, how wrong that was. Meanwhile, in another interesting part of the game, PG Root has killed himself. So he was getting into some skirmishes with Red to his north, and thought that he had a chance to take Nemo, and he then thought, oh, I can get an inspector and I can reinforce it with my queen, and then there'll be some sort of base. However, just out of his radar as he's done that was coming a smuggled in lieutenant. So as soon as he sees that, he realised that he's dead. He gifts all his subs, and then the queen is captured. So there's not much that he could have done about that. So there was a very mysterious death. Excellent move by Hazel Smasher in light blue, and that has basically allowed Red, who is Breaker, and Hazel Smasher, who is light blue, to pretty much carve up all the bases in that region. The other thing that you could see at the very beginning of the game was that elsewhere in the map, there are quite a lot of neutral factories, and everybody is very nicely cooperating and not contesting them. So look at this here. Trent has just taken 3 expansion factories from one base. How annoying is that? And Breaker has taken quite a number of expansion factories as well, and then got into a bit of a war with Brown, which Brown is then going to lose. Anyway, back to my situation, which was pretty sad. I said to Skylight, look, I think I can take Phillips, but if you vacate it, then I'll send you some gifts over here from Artie, and then maybe you can use them in the south. I mean, I can see that he's got a smuggler, he's likely to get a king, he's going to be able to defend against me if he really wants to, so maybe I'll try and sweeten him up. He says sure, but he doesn't like the fact that I'm kind of intimidating him, so he doesn't vacate it. So the only advantage of putting the navigator on that is that I can turn away at the last minute and not lose it. And now I have to reinforce, and I'm pulling everything in that direction because at least my other neighbours are friendly. And just before that hits, oh look, it's a king, so I can't actually take it, and there's no point having that stupid infiltrator because there's no shields left. So he's done everything perfectly. He smuggles in a helmsman, and then he can therefore reach Fam with a very large king-assisted force just after I get there. I should have probably evacuated those, but I was asleep at the time. So, on the one good thing is that I've kind of ablated a lot of his forces while he was routing me up there. So I said to Trent, look, why don't you come in, and I'd rather you have it than this guy, because not only has he somewhat backstabbed me, he also very publicly got into a row in the public chat over Purple, who he had backstabbed, and Purple here is having a very rough time of it. And there was some whining over public chat, and everybody thought that Skylight was in fact not that friendly. So Trent, unfortunately, has now gifted that to Skylight, and for me that looks like the beginning of the end. I've lost all my specialists. He's got a helmsman with large amounts of troops, and I've only got 2 factories left, and they're on the wrong side of the base. So I do the only thing that you can do in the circumstances, which was get a Princess Sentry and go, ha! So he then launches the anti-sentry attack of spamming lots of subs, but what I know and he doesn't is that I have a lieutenant coming up. I mean, I could have converted the sentry to a war hero as well, but that's less elegant. So the lieutenant is just knocking 5 off every sub that's coming in, and I've still got the sentry. I've still got the option to get a war hero later. I can convert the lieutenant into a general later, and a large amounts of grumpy drillers get wasted on my queen. In the meantime, Skylight's empire has kind of disappeared because I've convinced all of his neighbours to just wail in on him. So there's this amazing sub here with a admiral, a navigator, and an engineer. It's the sort of ultimate attack sub. We've got another pretty good ultimate attack sub here with a navigator and a smuggler. So at this point, Skylight pulls everything back to his mine, and now the question is, well, let's try and eliminate Skylight. There are 3 players with lots of drillers, but he has what? 2 saboteurs, 2 assassins, a 3rd saboteur coming in because I think he'd captured that off somebody. How on earth are we going to get through all of that? So there's a fantastic saboteur-proof boat coming in here because the navigator can just turn around after a saboteur has turned it around. And there's another one here. Unfortunately, neither of them will actually have enough to get through the shields. So there's now, I think, about a 3-way pylon happening. Oh, that's right. He sent out Skylight has sent out a assassin pirate, which is not going to catch anything because they're moving too fast. And I'm not quite sure what he was thinking. But he's now just obviously done the math and decided to evacuate. So he sends a small stream of 1 subs in the direction of a mine that has very few troops on it, in the hope that all of those single subs surrounding his king will stop things like assassins getting through. At which point, I get in on the action. So I have a pirate. Unfortunately, there's no troops on that base with the pirate, so I have to lock the pirate onto one of his subs in order to get speed, and then it docks at Isaacson with one of my ships that has troops, picks up the troops, and kills the Queen. So there was an incredibly long group chat that included everybody except Skylight on this question of how are we going to eliminate Skylight. So Skylight was indeed eliminated as soon as he did so. The top three players immediately started stealing each other's minds, jockeying for position, even though Breaker in red had actually had the option of ending the game by winning even earlier, but I convinced him not to on the grounds that I wouldn't have... See, that 18 there would have, if it had taken over that that mine, he would have won before I'd had a chance to kill Skylight. So he selflessly didn't win in order that I could in fact catch Skylight, and there was much rejoicing. So that was probably a fun game for everybody except Skylight, although he managed to, I think, annoy most of his neighbours, so perhaps he got what was coming to him. And I finished in, I think, 6th out of 10, which has kept me in the same ladder position, so that's not a bad result given that I had an absolutely terrible start. So that was the Dead Sea.